Welcome to Bless Dem Boyz, a podcast that's contemplating walking out into traffic. We're one Saints fan and one Cowboys fan, one fan of who dat and one fan of dat win. We're here to give weekly takes, game recaps, bad betting picks, game previews, and the occasional Seinfeld reference.
During the playoff season, we are highlighting each week one Saint and one Cowboy who won a Super Bowl with each team. This week, our patron Saint is QB Drew Brees. Brees was originally drafted 32nd overall, which back then was the first pick of the second round in 2001, by the then San Diego Chargers. Brees would remain with the Chargers until the 2005 season, during which he tore his labrum. That would lead to the 2006 offseason, in which Brees signed with the Saints, and he would remain there until his retirement after the 2020 season. Brees led the Saints to win Super Bowl 44, where he was voted MVP of the game. Brees was elected to the Pro Bowl 13 times, AP All-Pro one time in 2006, was never elected MVP. Just throwing that in.
You're not bitter. You're not bitter, are you?
I'm not bitter. No. The same in 2006, he was also elected Walter Payton Man of the Year. Brees holds the Saints franchise records in passing yards, passing touchdowns, passing completions, passing attempts, and completion percentage. Brees would be eligible.
What about interceptions?
No, I believe that's. I'd have to check. I believe that's Mr. Brooks. I believe that's Mr. Brooks. Yeah, I'll check that here in a second. Brees will be eligible for induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame next year.
Our patron Cowboy this week, sticking with the QB theme, is Roger Staubach. Roger attended the Naval Academy. He won the 1963 Heisman Trophy. And that season, he also led the midshipmen to a 9-1 regular season record, and where they finished with a final ranking of number 2 in the nation, and led them to a national championship game where they lost to the number 1 team in the nation. Paul, do you know who that team was?
What year was this again? Sorry.
1960. Well, it's the 1964 Cotton Bowl for the national championship between the Navy midshipmen and
Texas Longhorns.
Texas Longhorns.
Right.
So he was then drafted in the 1964 NFL draft in round 10, as well as the 1964 AFL draft in the 16th round. He was drafted in the NFL draft by the Dallas Cowboys, in the AFL draft by the Kansas City Chiefs. However, he did not go straight to the league. He served a tour in Vietnam following his graduation from 1965 to 1969 before joining the Cowboys. He would go on to win 2 Super Bowls with the team, Super Bowl 6 and Super Bowl 12, the first against the Miami Dolphins and the second against the Denver Broncos. He was a Super Bowl MVP of Super Bowl 6.
Which was held in
New Orleans.
Super Bowl 6 was held. It was held in New Orleans, yes.
He was the Walter Payton Man of the Year in 1978. 6-time Pro Bowler. He retired in 1980 and was inducted into the Hall of Fame 5 years later in 1985. He is the only quarterback to win the Heisman and be elected into the Hall of Fame. There are 10 total players that have done that, but he's the only quarterback. He was also awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom Award in 2018.
Real quick, you are correct. Drew Brees does hold the franchise record for interceptions.
It's just always a volume thing.
Yeah. So, I'm Paul, the Saints fan.
I'm Brandon, the Cowboys fan.
And we're your host. Izzy, tell them what time it is.
Yeah, that's it. It's go time. Let's see you lift that.
Mr. Vanderbilt, please.
It's go time.
This one's for you, Pop. It's go time.
It's go time.
You've been married 3 times.
That's it! It's go time!
It's go time.
All right.
But enough about fish. I can discuss other things, you know.
George, slow down. Slow down, man.
They don't call him Quick Draw Costanza for nothing.
That's right.
But before we talk about other things, George, let's tell the folks how they can get in in touch with us here. You can contact the show at blessdemboyz@gmail.com. That's BLESSDEMBOYZ@gmail.com. We're still on Twitter. Still waiting for Coach Belichick and LeBron to get us a follow. I reached out to Ben Solak too. See if he'll
Nothing.
nothing. Yeah, nothing yet. Nothing.
Come on, Ben. Come on.
Bupkis.
I thought we were close.
Yeah, well. Ben, if you're listening, you can find us at bless_dem_boys. You can also follow myself at Paul Elliott _316, PAULELLIOTT _316. Brandon is at Ball from Grace. We're still on Blue Sky. I actually just checked. We got a new follower on Blue Sky.
Oh, was it Yuri Testikov, the Russian writer?
No, it's Fiction Horizon. Shout out to them. So we're blowing and going there
in spite of the fact that we have not yet skeeted.
That's true. I guess well, maybe we can remedy that eventually. I just forget that we have the account, honestly, and I'm the one that set it up.
Yeah, I have a Blue Sky, and I use it once in a blue moon. I'll just hop on and fire off something stupid, and I'm like, okay, that's my contribution to this website for the next month.
It's the blue moon, blue sky, as it were.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're on there. We actually have 12. Wait, hold on. No, we have 3 followers. Sorry. You can check us out on Spotify and Apple. We ask that you like, share, subscribe, leave a rating and review. We are going to continue episodes during the off season or during the non-playing season. So please follow along with us. Appreciate all the feedback. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell random strangers, tell all the Russian bots.
Maybe we'll start gambling on the former the USFL. Is that what it is now?
No, it's the UFL.
UFL. Okay.
Yeah, I did see a couple commercials for them during the Super Bowl. I believe they start in March, like late March. So yeah, so exciting times. We'll find some stuff to talk about, I'm sure.
Sure.
Speaking of which, before we get into the recap of the big game, we do, as George mentioned earlier, we do pride ourselves on talking about other things.
But enough about fish. I can discuss other things, you know.
Thank you, George. Brandon, what did you get into this week, non-football related?
Pretty slow week. I think the one thing I did was we had intended to watch Nosferatu, but haven't gotten around to it yet. But I did watch a few more episodes of the X-Files. I was actually watching, I want to say it was episode 3, but the show was set in Baltimore. But in the beginning of the episode, they're panning to a guy, and he's like in his office, and it shows it's got his coffee mug, and there's a football team on the coffee mug. Okay. But it's not the Ravens, it's the Colts. So Baltimore fan, apparently this one was not too upset at being spurned for the city of Indianapolis here, because the Ravens hadn't existed yet. They were still he was that's a Johnny Unitas fan you probably had on your hands. Guess so. He probably was still hanging on to the team. There was also I watched another episode last night, and the monster in this episode was actually, I did not know this before, but apparently the David Putty's hockey team is actually named after a mythical creature. There is a New Jersey Devil.
Okay. I was like,
yeah,
where's this going?
No, there is a mythical creature called I think they just call it the Jersey Devil, but it is based out of New Jersey. And so in this episode, there was a monster living in the woods that would go and attack people. And so
wow.
They didn't come out and scream. They didn't scream, "We're the Devils."
Yeah, I was gonna say. They paint his face. They have face
They
paint
didn't
too,
paint their
or
face.
just no?
They did not have their face painted. They didn't have their chest painted.
That's a shame.
So, but and then the other thing I got up to was I just pulled up this album by a band named Pale Hound.
Okay.
I want to say they're a Boston band.
Okay.
Album was released in 2023 called "Keep Your Eye on the Bat."
Okay.
Pretty good. Would recommend if you're into kind of indie alt rock stuff. So that was about it for me. We had a pretty slow weekend. I think this was like the one weekend that we're actually like try not to do too much. But how about you, Paul? What'd you get up to?
So I'll start with my weekly Severance review. The episode this week was one of those episodes that will probably end up being like a defining episode for the series. I don't want to give too much away. I don't want to spoil too much, but it definitely is one of those episodes. Like if you think of like, for those that watch Lost, there was an episode of Lost called The Constant that everybody still talks about. I feel like that's what this episode of Severance is going to be. I'm not saying it was a perfect episode, but it was definitely very good, very well done. So, yeah, I'm still watching that. I actually meant to mention this last week. I am watching also. What's it called? Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. So it's a new animated Spider-Man series that's on Disney Plus. It's got a couple. I think it's got like 5 episodes out now. It's very good. The animation's a little different. Like it's like pretty cool.
It's not like the Into the Spider-Verse sort of animation.
Yeah, no, it's kind of somewhere between that and like What If, the Marvel What If show. It's like it's different, but not a bad different. It's just different.
Would you say it was closer to Monet, Manet, or Tippy Tippy Day Day?
Probably Tippy Tippy. I also a show that came back this week that I've been trying to keep up with over the last couple of years is Invincible on Amazon Prime. It's another animated show, but it's based on a graphic novel by Robert Kirkman, same gentleman that did The Walking Dead.
Not related to the movie Invincible.
No. This is this is season 3 that just started. I forgot that for some reason in my head I thought the episodes were like 30 minutes long, and they dropped 3 episodes on Thursday, and the shortest episode was like 45 minutes long, and I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here?
What's going on here?
But no, it's still a good show. I'd recommend, if you're looking for something new to check out. It's executive produced by Seth Rogen, and so it's good. A couple of movies I watched this week. Are you familiar with the director Michael Mann?
Not Manfred Mann.
No. Michael Mann. Give me some. His best known movie might work. Sure. His best known movie is probably Heat with Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. He also did The Insider with Russell Crowe and Al Pacino. He did the Miami Vice movie with Colin Farrell and Jamie Foxx that came out in the early 2000s.
Oh, he did. Oh, he was an executive producer on Ford versus Ferrari too.
Yes. Yeah, and he directed Ferrari. He has a movie called Ferrari that he directed with Adam Driver in it.
Okay.
So, but I watched 2 of his earlier movies. All that to say, I watched 2 of his earlier movies, which these are rewatches for me. I had seen them before, but Thief, which is from like it's from the 80s. It stars James Caan from you probably know James Caan. Yes, yeah, you probably know James Caan from Elf, or you may know him more from The Godfather as Sonny Corleone. But Thief is very good. If you like heist movies, like that's kind of what it is, as you can probably tell by the title. And then I watched a movie called Manhunter. This is a movie based on the book Red Dragon. So if you've seen the film Red Dragon from the 2000s with like Anthony Hopkins and um, what's his name? Uh,
Was that
he's in-
Silence of the Lambs adjacent?
yes. So
Okay, okay,
it's a Hannibal Lecter story.
okay, okay.
Um,
That's that was
yeah.
what I was thinking of.
So the character Hannibal Lecter is in the movie Manhunter. He's played by Brian Cox, which if you've seen Succession, he plays the patriarchal figure in Succession. He is very good as Hannibal Lecter. Like he's probably as good, maybe better than Hopkins. Honestly,
Really,
in my
that's
opinion.
That's a bold claim.
I've just watched the movie. I mean, it's um, and then, but it also stars William Peterson. The name might not sound familiar, but if you watch the original CSI, he's the star of the original CSI. I forget what his name
With
was
the
in the show.
sunglasses.
Yeah, no. You're thinking of CSI Miami, I think, with David
okay.
Caruso. I'm talking about the original, the very first iteration of CSI.
They all run together for me.
Yeah, they all run together. Does it have a Seinfeld? No, I don't think that one has a Seinfeld connection. Now that I think about it. No, I don't think it does. No. Manhunter does have a Seinfeld connection. Give me a second. So at one point they're trying to catch this serial killer named the Tooth Fairy. And they set up they've set up a sting to get him. And they accidentally. Yes. Yeah. They had Wadley. They had Wadley on the case. But they accidentally mistake a runner he's just a guy just happens to be running in the area at the time. And the guy playing the runner is Ipswich from the chicken roaster episode. The accountant for Peterman. That's like
the guy who's
another bullseye.
Yes.
Yep.
I was trying to think of the catchphrase. It wasn't. So the runner wasn't John Paul.
No, that would have been nice, but no, unfortunately not.
He was supposed to have the role, but he overslept.
Right. Why separate knob?
Some people like to have different.
Please, man, please. And then last night I threw on the Blues Brothers. Have you seen the Blues Brothers?
I've not.
Brandon,
I don't know if you're picking up this about me, but I haven't seen a lot of movies.
Okay, well, put this one on your list.
Okay,
it's a classic movie from 1980, starring Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi. It's on Prime right now. So if you have Prime Video,
I am like familiar. I am aware of it. Like it's not.
I am aware.
I do know about it. I'm aware.
Yeah, I would. It's not the best movie in the world, but it's a good way to kill 2 hours. Or
it's not as good as Airplane. Speaking of old,
yeah, I'd probably give Airplane the edge. Blues Brothers is like the closest thing to a musical without actually being a musical, probably. Like, if that makes sense. Like, it's not Wicked. Like, it's not like that kind of.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good way to lead off.
But
it's not.
But there is musical numbers in the movie, and it stars. They have guest appearances from Ray Charles, Aretha Franklin, some of the better blues R&B musicians of the time. So, yeah. But I checked that out yesterday. So, yeah, if you haven't seen it, Brandon or anybody else hasn't seen it, I would recommend checking it out. You can skip Blues Brothers 2000.
Okay.
that came out. That came out like late '90s, and it had. So by that point, John Belushi had passed away. So Dan Aykroyd was still around, and it was like Dan Aykroyd and John Goodman, I think, took over the other role. Yeah, it wasn't. Don't don't
No,
don't
no.
hurt yourself trying to find that one.
Okay. I'll make a note.
Anything else we want to talk
No, I
about?
think speaking of notes, I
Ah,
think we got some news and notes that we can get
yeah,
to.
yeah.
I think we can lead off with you've got the big headlines today. It's right below the Brandon. After we get to the Brandon Ingram news, the Brandon Ingram
Yeah,
extension.
but for, to clue in everybody else. So right before we turned the mics on, I was checking on ESPN.com, and like 4 headlines down, it said Brandon Ingram signs extension with Raptors, and then right below that it said Saints hire Kellen Moore as head coach. So that'll tell you about where the Saints head coaching search is in the national lexicon.
In the
Um,
grand scheme of things,
in the grand scheme of things. I think the best
you're
endorsement
also
for Kel.
you're
Go ahead.
sorry, but you're also below free agent center Lynn signs deal with Lakers. So Alex Lynn,
Wow. Okay.
I think that might actually be worse than the than
Well,
than
look,
the
that their trade with Charlotte got rescinded, so they had to
they need a center pretty bad.
do something. Gotta do something, Jerry. Um, yeah. So I think the best endorsement that Kellen Moore got is that Skip Bayless thinks it's a bad hire. So
Yes. Anytime Skip Bayless thinks it's a good idea, you're on the wrong side of things.
right. Um, I did want to pull this up real quick. Give me 1 second. All right. Tom Pelissero tweeted this out. For those who don't know, Tom Pelissero is an insider for NFL Network. The first and last head coach hired in each cycle over the last 6 years. Okay. In 2020, the first coach hired in that cycle was Ron Rivera. The last head coach hired in that cycle was Kevin Stefanski.
Okay.
So, one 2-time coach of the year, the other
Not so great.
made it what, 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah.
2021. Okay, so the first coach hired in 2021, there's actually 2. They were hired on the same day. Urban Meyer and Robert Saleh.
Okay.
The last
Saleh
coach
wasn't
hired,
too bad.
I mean, yeah, Saleh at least lasted more than a year.
Right.
The last coach hired in 2021, David Culley.
Ooh. That one didn't last too long.
Yeah, he lasted a year. He and Urban.
Yep.
Well, he lasted longer than Urban for what it's worth, because Urban didn't even make it the full year.
Pretty low bar to clear there.
2022. Again, 2 coaches hired at the same time first. Nathaniel Hackett. He couldn't hack it.
He could hack it.
And the new Cowboys defensive coordinator, Matt Eberflus.
Okay.
The last head coach hired in 2022, the reigning coach of the year, Kevin O'Connell. Or the newly crowned coach of the year, I should say, Kevin O'Connell. 2023, first coach hired, Frank Reich. Again, didn't last a year. And the last 2 coaches hired on the same day, Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen.
Okay.
Both still with their teams, for what that's worth.
Right.
And then last year, the first coach hired. Do you remember who the first coach hired last year was, by any chance?
Why don't you just tell me who the first coach hired was?
How about Antonio Pierce?
Oh yeah. That went well.
The last coach hired, Dan Quinn.
Yeah.
So-
Mr. I can't pay attention to the game that I have coming
Yeah.
up.
I can't game plan for the Packers. I gotta
Sorry, I
got a
got an
command.
interview to prepare
I got a
for.
commander's job
Thanks, buddy.
this year, and then this year, the first coach hired this year was Mike Vrabel, and obviously Kellen Moore, the last coach. So let's hope that Kellen Moore is more like Dan Quinn, Kevin O'Connell, Kevin Stefanski, that realm, than
Urban Meyer.
David Culley. Or yeah. I mean, to be fair, the David Culley one was like they didn't give him a chance, and then D'Amico
No.
Ryans became available, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we'll go hire him."
How about this guy? He seems competent.
So what I'll say about Kellen Moore is, all things considered, how the hiring process, and obviously I was not thrilled with how I was not thrilled with how the process went, but I will say the fact the Saints got to hire the offensive coordinator for the Super Bowl champions, who called a pretty good game in the Super Bowl, I would say, and was credited with helping that offense along. I mean, I know Saquon Barkley helps a lot, and the offensive line helps a lot, but
I was gonna say having the offensive line there might also play a part.
But for what it's worth, and he seems genuinely excited about having the job. So we'll see. I mean, the biggest thing is now who does he hire for his staff, right? Like who? Okay, if we get Brandon Staley as a defensive coordinator, well, we're going to overhaul our whole defense, because I'm pretty sure Brandon Staley's defense is a lot different from Dennis Allen's defense.
Does he? What kind of? I'm not as familiar with Allen, but like, what kind of coverage schemes does he tend to run? Is he like more of a cover 1, cover 3 guy?
Dennis Allen. Dennis
Yeah.
Allen, yeah, he was more cover 2, cover 3. He would blitz, like I mean, he wasn't like Rob Ryan blitz happy or Greg Williams blitz happy, but he would,
or even the Minnesota guy.
Oh, Flores.
Brian Flores, yeah.
Yeah. No, even like Spagnuolo. He was more corners, single coverage, cover 1, cover 2 kind of thing. Kept
Leave
it pretty
your man on an island, basically.
Yeah, kept it pretty simple. Which, when you have Marshawn Lattimore who's healthy, that's doable, but then you run into issues when that's not the case. But yeah, with Staley, I don't know. I mean, and with Kellen Moore, I know the year that he was in Los Angeles with the Chargers, the offense was not good, and that's why he got fired, and that's why Brandon Staley got fired. But outside of that, I mean, you could probably speak to this as a Cowboys fan. I mean, some of Dak's better years were with Kellen Moore, I would say, as his OC.
They were.
Now,
the pushback I would give on that is the year after he was gone, when he was in San Diego, the Cowboys also ended up with the number 1 offense in the league. So, I'll go ahead and give you my little spiel on Kellen Moore, because
crush my spirits, Brandon. Go ahead.
I think he's a good play designer, but the problem always seemed like his good plays, there was never a package with Shanahan, McVay. They're always thinking about, we have this formation. What do we do out of this to start with? How do we break tendency? How do we make runs look like passes? Kellen Moore, he just has what seems like a random collection of good plays. It's oh, here's this cool little gadget thing we can run, but we don't have any counters or ideas that we can build on off of this. That's where I feel like he would probably need to get better at. And the thing with the his time with the Eagles is the offense, they put Saquon on there and the offensive line is great, and so it's hard to judge how successful you are when you. I mean, to give him credit, he was willing to just sit there and run the ball when You're able to do that,
Well,
and when you're able to do that efficiently, like just stick with it the whole time.
well, and that's what I've heard him get credit for. Like at one point in the season, he basically sat the staff down and was like, "Look, we don't need to be passing the ball this much. Like
Mhm.
let's keep it simple, right?" So,
Right.
um, I hearing him talk during the week. Uh, One of the things that struck me was he talked about basically finding the best in each player, like finding what
Mhm.
each player does the best and putting them in position to do that. So that
Right.
really, I mean, I mean, it seems simple as a coach, like that's what you probably should be doing, but
Right.
you know, I, I, I'm intrigued. So the next domino for the Saints again, he's got to hire his staff, but also I'll just mention Darren Rizzi probably is going to go to Denver now. They need a special teams
Mhm.
coach. So Peyton's getting the band back together in Denver. So
The Rizzy's
um,
getting busy.
Rizzi's getting busy. Uh, but then, but what the other domino for the Saints is what do they do with Derek Carr? Uh,
That's the how many $1 million question is that?
40, 30, somewhere around there. Like uh, the national media, like NFL Network and ESPN, keep putting his name out there in like trades.
Uh-huh.
It's like, or putting his name out there as someone who may be available and may have a market, which I'm totally fine. Yes, sell that narrative, please. Like,
Yes.
um, I mean, if the I mean, that would be the best case scenario is that the Saints could get somebody to trade for him because then,
Is there like a bad dead cap hit with him if you trade him?
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think it's not as bad as if you trade him,
Uh-huh.
but if you just cut him, then it's bad. If you just,
Okay.
even if you post June 1 them, it's still like, I don't know what the
It's going to
number is
be
off the top
pretty
of my head.
ugly.
I'd have to go to spot track to figure it out. But
Yeah, I was pulling that up, but uh I'll pull that up
it's
as we talk.
yeah, that's fine. But what I'll say is, I mean, look, a team might want to roll the dice with them. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. I will say it is interesting that during Super Bowl week in New Orleans, we saw none of Derek Carr. We saw a lot of Jameis Winston. We saw a little bit of Drew Brees. I saw a little bit of Spencer Rattler walking around,
Mhm.
but Derek Carr nowhere to be found. So I don't know if that's a sign of things to come, but I've said it on the show, and I'll just say it again, just to reiterate. I'm totally fine with them cutting bait with Carr and rolling with either Spencer Rattler or if they go in the draft and find somebody like
So it looks like a trade. So if you cut him pre-June 1st, it's a $50 million dead cap hit with
right,
$1.3 million of savings. The post June 1st cut would be $21 million of dead money with a $30 million savings. And then a trade pre June 1st would be a $40 million dead money with
right,
$11 million of savings. The reverse is true if you trade him post June 1st, which would be so you just have $11 million, $11.5 million of dead money. So
right.
that's
Now
palatable.
the money you got to pay it eventually anyway. It's just when you're gonna have to pay it, like when you have to swallow
Right.
that pill. The other kind of thing that's lurking is he has like I think it's a $40 million injury bonus. So like if he can't pass a
Mm.
physical by
Then you're in trouble.
what, then we're in trouble. The other thing too is you have to be cap compliant by mid March. So even if you do the post June 1st cut, you still got to figure out the rest of
Clear
your
that
cap.
space
Right.
beforehand, right?
So
Do you want
that,
to hazard a guess at how much cap space you have or how far over the cap the Saints are at the moment?
it's 51 million, right? We're over 51 million,
54.
54. Okay. Yeah. Now, when the new cap number comes out, that might end up being 50. Who knows? But
Yeah, I figure you may get 10 million more off of that, right? Maybe
and
44.
but what I find surprising is like I don't know if people just I think people just kind of like don't care about. I know they don't care. We just talked about ESPN, like they're like fifth, sixth on the list of headlines, but like people are just like, yep, the Saints are screwed. You know, let's just uh,
Let's move on.
let's move on. I will say we'll talk about the game a little bit later, but like I will say the best part of the season for the Saints, honestly, was Super Bowl week because like New Orleans got to be shown in a great light. Now everybody's like New Orleans is the best place to have a Super Bowl. All these good love, all these good vibes around the
Power
city
didn't
now.
go out.
Power didn't go out. Yeah. Although Drake might have tried to pull the power during the halftime
Yeah.
show, but that's another story. Um, so yeah, all in all, look, I we'll see what happens with the Saints this offseason, but I think this is a good first step. I mean, I hope Kellen Moore doesn't end up like David Culley, where like he gets them through this season and some other and the Saints I don't think will do this. I mean, the Saints historically are a very patient organization.
Hmm.
I would be more concerned of if Kellen Moore gets the Saints, like let's say Kellen Moore gets the Saints like competitive in 1 or 2 years, and then he's like, you know what, I'm good. I'm gonna go somewhere. Like I'm gonna go so like let's say Sirianni leaves the Eagles for whatever reason, and Kellen Moore wants to go back there, or let's say Schottenheimer doesn't work out in Dallas, and Kellen Moore wants to go back. You know, like I don't know. That would be more what I would be worried about. But
Well, you did.
yeah,
I will say you did going into this hiring cycle. You did say you thought the next coach would not be there for long. Have you changed your opinion on
I'm
that based on this
still
hire?
I'm more optimistic about that now, but I still wouldn't be shocked. Like if we reconvene 2 years from now and the Saints are back trying to looking for a head coach, I'm not going to be shocked.
Uh huh. Okay.
But you know, who knows? I mean, Sean Payton. Nobody knew. I didn't know who the hell Sean Payton was when we hired him, and you know, things work out.
Sometimes it
So
works.
you just gotta one day at a time and go from there. The Cowboys got a new passing game coordinator.
Yeah, and I won't go too far into my opinions on this because don't know enough about Dorsey as a kind of offensive mastermind. But he did help develop Josh Allen in Buffalo as the QB's coach. Um, and then in Cleveland, I think he was running someone else's offense, like at Stefanski's offense there. Like it wasn't really his offense. But I think what they talked about it on Locked On Cowboys is like the kind of the school of thought that he comes from in terms of offensive game plan fits well with how the Cowboys want to run their hurry up offense, which I think they
Mm,
want to use more as like a change of pace to get the offense going during the season this year, and so it makes sense to have him. That they hired the offensive coordinator that they hired is more of a run scheme guy. So bringing in Dorsey gives them someone who can help Schottenheimer manage the passing game. So they've
okay.
done a good job building out the staff. I think Schottenheimer is actually. I think they actually the concern that everyone had once we got Schottenheimer as the choice was that they were going to do what they usually do, which is like Jerry and Steven were going to go out and pick the guys that they wanted to coach to fill out the staff. But it seems like Schottenheimer's actually been given free reign to kind of go and pick the guys that he wants. And so I think they're giving him a good chance of been given free reign to set himself up for success here. And so it seems like they've empowered him and they're making good hires on both offensive, especially in terms of offensive staff. So I'm pretty happy about that. So
Yeah.
we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah.
As
To
they
that
say.
to that point with Kellen Moore and the Saints, just to go back to them for the report today was that he would have considerable input on the staff or something like that. I'm like, he should have all of the input. Like, I mean, if you,
Considerably all.
yeah, I mean, like, this isn't hard. Like, you hired this guy, you waited this whole, you waited an extra week to hire him. You're paying him, I imagine, good money. Like, give this guy the best chance. The other thing I want to point out about if Brandon Staley is the defensive coordinator, this will now be the third, at least the third, offensive head coach, young offensive head coach, first time head coach that's been hired, that has hired a former head coach as their defensive coordinator. So Ben Johnson hired Dennis Allen, Schottenheimer hired Eberflus, and now Kellen Moore would hire Brandon Staley, which I find interesting. I think that's good.
I think it's I think it's good for first time guys to have someone back there who can kind of like, you can pick their brain about like running, team practices, preparing everybody for the week. And so you've got kind of like that, somebody to lean on there. I think it's a good, good way to do things.
And look, all three examples, Allen, Eberflus, and Staley, weren't overly successful as head coaches, but they at least have the knowledge of, like, maybe you can learn what not to do if nothing else.
Yeah, and we saw like Eberflus kind of burned out because of how things got run on the offensive side of the ball, but his defense, like the reason he got to stick around was because his defense played so well at the end of the last season. So Staley was the same with the Rams. The reason he got a shot as a head coach was because the Rams defense was so good under him. So
another sneaky, I think I mentioned this last week, but another sneaky good hire by Ben Johnson was Eric Bieniemy as the running backs coach. I think that'll be
right.
I'm sure he'll help some with the offensive scheming as well. But
right.
Let's get to the rest of the NFL real quick. So they did announce, I don't know if this is official. So they did officially announce there will be a game in Dublin in 2025. The teams I saw was Steelers versus Packers. I don't know if that's official, but that's what I saw.
You have to get one team over there with some green in their uniform, right?
I would think so, yeah. I believe that's a Steelers home game. And it also makes sense, like if it's your first time in a foreign country, you probably want to have two franchises that are somewhat significant, like somewhat, historically. I mean, Packers and Steelers are the two most historically significant franchises in the NFL, I would say, right?
Right.
All due respect to your team.
I think we've got some claim there.
Yeah. The Hall of Fame, I think we briefly touched on this, but I was surprised it was only 4 that made it into the Hall of Fame. I was taken aback by these names, but it's Jared Allen, defensive end, Eric Allen, no relation, defensive back, former Saints legend, Sterling Sharp, wide receiver, obviously the brother of Shannon Sharp, and Antonio Gates. Hey, did you know Antonio Gates played basketball?
Oh, I had not heard that. I must have. Can't believe no one's figured that out before.
Yeah, in other news, water wet. So first of all, congratulations to those 4. I guess the biggest surprise, I know. I'll let you give your Darren Woodson grievances here in a minute, but I wasn't surprised Eli didn't get in. We had talked about it.
I was actually surprised because I thought they were going to just ram him down our throats.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of glad that they didn't. I mean, again, I think he will get in eventually, and I'm not saying he should or he shouldn't. I think he will. I was kind of rooting for, obviously, my guy Jory Evans from the Saints. Maybe he'll go in next year with Brees. That'd be kind of cool if he did that. Luke Kuechly was the one that was a head scratcher. It's kind of like, I know linebacker is kind of a antiquated position these days, but like Luke Kuechly was one of the best, and
Right.
I thought for sure he had a chance at least to get in on the first ballot, but we'll see what happens. See what happens next year. Actually, I did want to bring up
How many
who's
the
eligible.
how
next
many
year.
how many Super Bowls did Jared Allen win?
I believe that was 0.
What about Antonio Gates?
I know that was 0.
What about Eric Allen and Sterling Sharp? Have they did they ever?
Didn't Sterling win
I think
one?
Sterling was on. Was he on
Was
the
he on that
Ravens?
Packers? No, that was
Whoa,
Shannon. That was Shannon.
Shannon. Let's see, Sterling Sharp. Oh wait, no, zero Super Bowls.
And
So
Eric Allen didn't win one.
let's check. Eric Allen
trying-
was a 0-time Super Bowl winner.
Okay.
So
All right. Continue.
So do you know how many Super Bowls Darren Woodson helped win?
At least 3.
That would be 3.
That was
Do you know who was the all-time leading tackler for the Dallas Cowboys, one of the premier franchises in the NFL?
Would it be Darren Woodson?
That would be Mr. Darren Woodson, who for some reason is still not in the Hall of Fame. Come on, people. It's honestly kind of embarrassing at this point. Like how I don't understand what's going on there. I need Kramer to march in the streets over here. No Hall of Fame, no Hall of Fame, no Hall of Fame. Hey,
Just like they did in the 60s, they're taking it to the streets.
taking it to the streets.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I
here
don't
are
know.
here are some of your first time eligible Hall of Famers for next year. Marquise Pouncey from the Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
A guy named Drew Brees, we talked about earlier. Geno Atkins. Do you remember Geno Atkins? Was a defensive tackle for the Bengals.
For the Bengals, yeah.
Yep. Some guy named Larry Fitzgerald.
I think I may have heard of him.
I feel like he's going to get in the first ballot, but like Steve Smith's, you get this log jam at receiver, right? So because Steve Smith didn't get in this year. I mean, obviously Sterling was on the ballot for God knows how long. Another Patriots kicker, Steven Gostkowski.
Mm-hmm. Memphis legend. Memphis legend.
Okay. Yeah. How about LaShawn Shady McCoy?
Yeah.
Here's a Cowboy for you, Jason Witten.
He gets in.
You think so?
Yes.
On the first ballot.
It'll be close.
Okay.
But I think so.
Another tight end is eligible, and that's Greg Olson, who, I mean, up until this year was working on Fox every week. Well, he still is, but he's
right. He got pushed, even though he's a lot better than Brady.
He got Brady. Yeah, he got the two other running backs that'll be eligible for the first time: Frank Gore and Todd Gurley.
Todd Gurley, yeah. I don't think Todd Gurley's getting in.
Todd Gurley is only 30 years old.
Yeah, his knee is 50.
Yeah, right. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Des Bryant, Cowboy legend, and for one day, Saints legend.
Yeah, Des was one of those guys who didn't have the longevity, but at his peak was one of the most he had a great peak, but not career longevity. Just because he was so physical, I think it just took a toll on his body.
And he caught the ball.
He did catch the ball.
Another Cowboy, Sean Lee, linebacker
Okay.
Sean Lee. He's eligible. Another somewhat Cowboy legend, Alfred Morris.
Him of the Honda Accord. Is it Honda
Yep.
Accord?
And two quarterbacks here, or actually, no, three quarterbacks, three more quarterbacks outside of Brees. So Philip Rivers, which that's hilarious that Brees and Rivers are eligible for the Hall of Fame the same year. Alex Smith. I get the sense Alex Smith might make not the first ballot, but I think he's going to get in eventually.
I don't think so.
You don't think
I
so?
don't. No, I don't think the peak was high enough.
But I mean, like after what he had to come back from that leg injury, I don't.
He won
I don't know.
comeback player of the year. I don't think you get a Hall of Fame nod for that, though.
Yeah, I don't think this next gentleman is going to make it. Matt Schaub. Yeah,
The pick six king.
So the Texans had a Hall of Famer yet?
Andre Johnson's still not in, is he?
No, he got in last year, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He would have
Andre
been the
did.
first. I think he was the first.
He was. That's right. Because everybody thought it would be JJ. You'd have to wait till JJ was eligible.
See,
But
I didn't understand that because I thought Andre should have been first ballot.
let me double check here.
He is in the
Andre
Hall of
Johnson?
Fame. Yeah, he
Okay.
is.
Yeah, because I remembered his. I remember he went last. I want to say they let him go last at the induction ceremony. Okay.
So I did want to point out
what were you gonna say?
so the Steelers they've confirmed that the Steelers are playing over there.
Okay.
The home game in Ireland. Apparently, this is not the first time that the Steelers have played in Ireland.
Oh, do tell.
They did a see, when was it? July 27th, 1997. They played the Chicago Bears in an exhibition game.
Okay.
I remember that because when we went to Dublin in college, we went out to this one pub that's out like on the outskirts of town called Johnny Fox's, and there was a sign that had like the Pittsburgh Steelers roster that had gone out to the pub. And so I remembered, I was like, I think the Steelers were over there for some reason, but I didn't know if it was just like a team building thing. So I looked it up, and they indeed have been out there before.
Good stuff. Let's run through the NFL honors real quick. So I'm just going to take a victory lap here. MVP, Josh Allen, called it. Yeah, I really went out on a limb.
Although he did not win. He was not first team All Pro.
Well, the reason I brought up the Brees thing when I was talking about he never, because that happened to Brees. Brees was named first team All Pro, but was not named MVP. I forget in 06 or whatever year. I think
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but look, I get it. Like, I get both sides of the argument. Like, the people who are like, "Well, this is why I voted for Josh over Lamar," and I understand. Like, I get it. Yeah, I mean,
there's a difference between most valuable and best season, right? I guess you can argue that because of those.
I think there is. Now, listen, I understand, like, people will say, well, if you take Lamar off the Ravens, they're not a playoff team. Maybe, but you have Derrick Henry, and you have, pretty good offensive line. You got, the defense is pretty good defense. Like,
it got to where they were playing better at the end of the season too.
You take Josh Allen off the Bills, like,
they're in trouble.
It gets bad, I think, but that's just me. Well, and I will say the Ravens do play in a better division too,
right?
For what it's
fair enough.
Coach of the year, I called this one too, Kevin O'Connell. So there's two feathers in my cap.
There's a feather in your cap.
Offensive Player of the Year, Saquon Barkley. No surprise there. Defensive Player of the Year. I'm going to be honest. I had no idea who was going to win this award. Congratulations
I'm just glad they didn't give it to JJ Watt. It always seems like when there's
TJ Watt
or TJ Watt, when there's no consensus player, they'll just let's just vote for the Watt guy.
If they'd have given it to JJ Watt, then something really would have been fishy.
Yeah, something was really something's fishy.
Something's missing. Patrick Surtain, the second, won Defensive Player of the Year. So kudos to him.
Certainly.
When's the last time a defensive back won Defensive Player of the Year? Has it happened? I know Lattimore.
Stephon Gilmore.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, you would know that. Well, how long ago was that, though? I just have to look it up. I feel like the defensive player, kind of to your point, the Defensive Player of the Year usually goes to a rusher, an edge rusher, or a sack.
2019 was Gilmore.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Before that, it was 2010 Troy Polamalu. Year before that, 2009 was Charles Woodson.
Okay, makes sense.
Bob Sanders in 2007.
Oh, Bob Sanders. There's a name from the past.
Yeah.
He
was so awesome, but he would get hurt. He was hurt.
Yeah.
When he was on the field, he was amazing.
He's a Hawkeye legend. University of Iowa Hawkeye legend. Bob Sanders.
That must have been that was the one year he stayed healthy, was 2007.
Right. Well, that was the year. Yeah, that was the year after they won the Super Bowl. That was 07 was the Patriots' undefeated season year. Or the almost undefeated season. As well.
I was looking up our teams who have had. So we've each had one Defensive Player of the Year.
The Saints had a Defensive Player there?
They did. For the Cowboys, it was Harvey Martin in 1977.
Give me the year for the Saints. Give me the year.
It was 1991.
Ricky Jackson?
Nope.
Sam Mills.
This is a immaculate grid player for us.
Pat Swilling?
Pat Swilling.
I knew it was one of the Dome Patrol. I couldn't remember. I know Leroy Glover, our guy Leroy Glover, came in second Defensive Player of the Year to Ray Lewis in 2000, I believe.
Yep.
Because he had 20 sacks or something absurd that year. And yeah, so.
Yes.
Comeback Player of the Year went to Joe Burrow, because why would you give it to DeMar Hamlin? I mean, he only came back from death.
Well, that was 2 years ago, though. I think that was.
Well, he didn't win it. He didn't win it last year either.
Last year, because I guess he didn't play enough. Was that the logic last time?
Jesus Christ! Man.
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
Like, don't look. This is no disrespect to Joe Burrow. He's a fine player, but
he was great in Home Alone.
Yeah, he's fantastic in Home Alone. One of my favorite, when he was at LSU, one of my favorite images was a picture of Ed Orgeron and Joe Burrow, and then next to it was a picture of Joe Pesci and Macaulay Culkin from Home Alone. It was like how it started, how it ended.
Macaulay Culkin won his Joe Burrow for Halloween this year too.
He did, and it was real and it was spectacular. Offensive Rookie of the Year, no surprise here, Jaden Daniels. Defensive Rookie of the Year.
I don't think there's any really surprise there. Yeah, no surprise there.
Yeah, no surprise. Really. Jared Verse. I almost said Marshawn Lattimore won Defensive Player of the Year, but he won Defensive Rookie of the Year for the Saints. He and Alvin Kamara were Offensive and Defensive Rookie of the Years the same year in 2017.
Did the Saints trade up for either of those players?
Actually, no. That was one of my favorite not favorite, but one of the biggest what ifs in NFL draft history. Had the Chiefs not traded up in front of the Saints were going to draft Patrick Mahomes. And they settled for Marshawn Lattimore.
To be fair, you had Sean Payton still at that time. Okay,
yeah,
because I was gonna say, like, if Mahomes goes to a team with like no offensive infrastructure, I don't know that he turns into what he is now.
Sean Payton told the story the year Sean Payton took the year off and he worked for Fox. He told the story on Colin Cowherd's show. They flew to Lubbock. It was like 3 people from the same. It was like Peyton and a couple of people. There wasn't many people because they didn't want people to know that they were working out Mahomes. Flew to Lubbock, did the session with him. Peyton says it was one of the greatest workouts he ever saw. They got on the plane, and he told everybody in the plane, he said, do not tell a soul, but that's who we're drafting. He's going to be our next franchise quarterback. And night of the draft, Chiefs trade up with Buffalo to number 12 or whatever pick it was, right in front of the Saints, picked him. So
that's a shame.
What could have been. Yep. And then, I mean, that one of the, and then I heard a story. I don't know if did I tell the Nick Saban Drew Brees story on the show?
Yeah, we talked about that a couple weeks ago.
Okay. Yeah, but Dolphins wouldn't pass Brees on the physical.
Right.
Yeah. Some big, that would be a good series, like and they may have done it already, but like a what if, NFL what if, like if, I mean, obviously it's hard to project like what would have happened, but
right.
All right, so let me just recap the head coaching vacancies now that they're all filled at the moment. So the Bears hired Ben Johnson, the Patriots Mike Vrabel, the Jets Aaron Glenn, the Jaguars Liam Cohen, Saints Kellen Moore, Raiders Pete Carroll, and the Cowboys Brian Schottenheimer. Now, Brandon, I'm going to ask you this question. If I told you 1 year from today, one of those coaches would not have a job, who's your best bet? I hate to do this, but
it feels like most of these guys are going to get a lease. Like the Cowboys don't tend to fire coaches really quickly unless, like, if things go terribly, maybe Pete Carroll.
That was, but that one I feel like it wouldn't be. It would be more of another coach becomes available that Brady has a connection with, maybe.
Or Pete is just like, I've had things go really poorly, and Pete's just like, I'm not here for this.
Or they draft Shador and they convince Dion to come coach him next year. I don't know, something like that. The hilarious one would be Liam Cohen. Like if the Jags go through all these gymnastics to get him in the building, and after a year he flames out. Right. So we'll keep an eye on that. I did want to talk. I did consider maybe that making a topic for a draft is like what coaches going into next year are on the hottest seat, as it were. The ones that pop to mind are like Brian Daboll.
This is their last shot. If things go poorly there, he's out.
I would say Mike McDaniel. Speaking of which, the Dolphins today hired Bobby Slowick as I did see offensive assistant of some kind. So I think he and McDaniel have history, if not on the same staff. They at least both go back to the 49ers.
They were both from Shanahan and
right. But were they there at the same time though? That's what I wasn't sure of. But I would say McDaniel's seat's got to be pretty hot. Um, I feel like I don't know these. I feel like Zach Taylor in Cincinnati. He's got to be feeling the heat a little bit. Who else? Nobody in the AFC West, I would say. See, in the AFC South, D'Amico should be fine. I mean, the Jags just hired Liam. Maybe Tennessee with Callahan, depending on what happens
Right.
there. But again, that one strikes me more as like if another coach came available that Tennessee thought they had a shot at, maybe they move on from
Yeah,
Callahan.
so Slowick and McDaniel were
McDaniel.
together
Okay.
in San Francisco.
Okay. Steichen in Indianapolis. I feel like that hasn't gone great with Richardson. Like that might be something to watch. I know everybody wanted to fire the GM after the season. I know Pat McAfee was adamant about that. So maybe so basically so basically the entire AFC South is on notice pretty much. Seems
Yeah.
like feels like. I wonder like these coaches like McDermott, Harbaugh, John Harbaugh, Tomlin, the ones that like almost beat the Chiefs but can't quite beat the Chiefs. Like if they, well, Tomlin maybe not so much, but like Harbaugh and McDermott, like I wonder if. But again, unless you can get a coach that you know can beat the Chiefs, like what are you doing? Like are you really going to fire John Harbaugh? Are you really going to like? I don't know.
Yeah. Right.
Or the other one I'll throw out is Stefanski at Cleveland. I'm kind of surprised
Mhm.
he stuck around. I'm guessing well, the Deshaun thing actually might end up being not as bad as they thought now that he re-tore his Achilles. So like they can maybe get out of his contract better or in a better way. Let's see. In the NFC, we talked about Dayball. Sirianni should be fine now, I would think.
That's a shame.
Dan Quinn's fine. Maybe Todd Bowles and well, I would say Todd Bowles. If they had kept Cohen as the OC, then I definitely would say Todd Bowles would be in trouble potentially. But Raheem Morris maybe. Canales seems to be fine in Carolina. Actually, that might be my hot take going into next year. I think Carolina has depending on how the free agency and draft go, Carolina might be a sleeper division winner next year. But
That division is not
yeah,
exactly
the bar is
the bar is pretty
low.
low there.
Yeah, the bar is low. Yeah, I am aware.
The Southern divisions are not quite holding up their end of the bargain with regards to NFL parity at the moment.
Let's see. NFC North, O'Connell should be fine. LaFleur's fine. Ben Johnson just got hired. Who am I missing? Oh, Campbell.
Yeah. The question is going to be how well does he do? He's done a good job of hiring coordinators, so he like seems to know what he's looking for, and so like he's the culture there is still good. Like I don't understand why,
but I want to see what happens if they start slow next year. Like I don't think he gets fired next year, but if they start slow and maybe miss the playoffs next year, what does 2026 look like? Like is that now does that's one to keep an eye on. I think, but
it just depends on how quick a trigger they want to like. It took them a long time to build back to this level of success. I don't know if you want to just say.
I mean,
we had a couple of down seasons. That's it, buddy boy. Get out.
I mean, yeah, they stuck with. Didn't they stick with Rod Marinelli a couple years? So I mean, yeah, they're probably going to be patient. But
I think Campbell's got a little bit of goodwill built up.
I would hope so. I mean, I would hope so. NFC West, Shanahan in San Francisco. That's one to keep an eye on. I think if they have another year like they
And
did
that may
this
be
year.
he may want out at that point too.
That's true.
He
Yeah,
may
that's
he may
true.
say, "I've taken this as far as I can. Let me go try somewhere
Um,
else."
I'd keep an eye on Gannon in Arizona. I think he's done pretty well, but if Kyler has
He
another like
well he's a defensive coach.
right,
He hasn't and he also hasn't been allowed to pick his own quarterback. He kind of inherited Kyler from the last
true.
regime. So I think a lot of times in those sort of situations, GMs and
I'm
ownership will
yeah,
give them the chance to find their guy.
I'm interested to see. I heard rumblings of Kyler maybe getting traded this offseason. I'm interested to see what they do there. Mike McDonald, I mean, he's a new coach. Seattle might be a sneaky team too next year. I mean, they finished strong. They won 10 games. They didn't make the playoffs, but now, they changed offensive coordinators. They basically took all the Saints offensive staff, and let's see how it works with Geno Smith instead of Derek Carr. I don't know. We'll see.
Right.
And then the Rams, McVay, I don't know. McVay always seems like he's on the edge of just
Calling
hanging
it
it
quit.
up. Yeah, I don't. I'd be interested to see the
I'll, be-
Stafford
I'll
thing's
believe it. I'll
interesting.
believe it when he actually quits.
The Stafford thing is interesting. I mean, they've already said they're or Cooper Cup came out and said that they're going to trade him. Um,
Right.
I found it interesting that the Giants hired Matthew Stafford's brother-in-law as an offensive assistant or whatever. For what that's worth, I don't know.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know if McVay. Do we think McVay strikes me like a coach like Sean Payton? Like I don't know if he's going to want to build a quarterback from the ground up because McVay kind of fell into Goff and and they traded for Stafford, right?
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong. He got Goff to the Super Bowl, albeit with a questionable no call on pass interference, but that's another story for another day. I'm not bitter, but
Huh. Really, I never would have guessed.
what was I talking about? The yeah. So I don't know. This is a couple because I was thinking today. I was like, "There's no way that we have 7 more openings next off season," but maybe so. I mean,
You never know. Things
th-
change quickly in
those
this league.
trigger fingers get itchy. Those owners get
Yep.
those itchy trigger fingers. Um, yeah, in the AFC West, I think I kind of skipped over them, but they basically have the best coaching division in all of football. You got Sean Payton, Pete Carroll, Jim Harbaugh, Andy Reid. Like
Mm.
that's, I don't think you can get a better 4 coaches right now. All right, let's transition here to one of our new segments. Here, we're gonna watch the Watchers, Brandon.
I'm watching the Watchers, Jerry.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Thanks, Kramer. All right, so Field Yates, you're familiar with Mr. Yates over at ESPN?
Man, I can't believe it. His name sounds like how is his name Field?
Yeah, right.
Is that
It's
is
like,
that his legal name?
I don't know. I bet I can't. I don't know Mr. Yates. I'd have to. I don't know him well enough to ask, but uh,
Oh, it is. Do you want to know what his middle name is?
please, I can't wait.
Minister.
Are you kidding me?
Field Minister Yates is his
That's
actual
that's his government name. That's
his
his like
government name.
man.
Yeah, Field Minister Yates.
We
His
salute you,
parents
sir.
made some choices.
Man, I need to talk to his parents. Like, what were they thinking?
What were you?
Um,
I'm surprised. Why don't you just go by minister?
right. Minister of drafts, as it were.
Yeah, Minister
So
of Defense.
he released a mock draft today, actually the day that we are recording here, February 11th. Let's go through our teams first, and then we'll kind of hit some of the other teams. Since I'm in such a good mood, I'll go Dallas first. Would you like to know who he has the Cowboys selecting at number 12?
I've seen this. It's the
Yeah,
cornerback Will Johnson out of Michigan, which
that's correct.
he's
Yep.
he coming off an injury, I believe, which
Yes,
is
he
like
is.
one of the. I think I've heard that he's a top 5 talent that is
Mhm.
probably going to drop a little bit because of the injury. I'm not opposed to them like drafting a cornerback, but I'm a little hesitant taking one this high coming off an injury because you've already got Trayvon Diggs, who's coming off a big injury. Deron Bland missed a lot of time last year with a foot problem. You had the defensive backfield has enough injuries without adding another guy coming off an issue
Yeah,
or yeah coming off an issue. So like I'd rather him let's stick to I, if they trade back and got this guy, I'd feel fine, but just
yeah,
12's a little rich. So
yeah. He,
I know he's dropping because of the injury, but still, like,
yeah,
that kind of scares me
Mister
away.
Mister Minister, in his write up here, he does bring up, Trayvon Diggs is recovering from knee injury. Deron Bland has 1 year left on his contract, and Jordan
Hmm.
Lewis is a free agent. So,
Yeah, I'm hoping they bring back Jordan Lewis.
um, but
Speaking
yeah,
of
I've
Michigan
seen
quarterback,
I've seen Will Johnson go mocked as high as like 5,
hmm
6, like in that area. I've seen him mocked to the Saints at 9, because the Saints could use some defensive back help.
Marshawn Lattimore replacement.
Yeah, um, but Mr. Yates in his mock draft for the Saints, he's got them selecting Tetaroa McMillan, wide receiver out of Arizona. Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see this. The other wide receiver that you and I have talked about, I think we both like for our teams, is Mr. Burden, Luther Burden the
Hmm.
third out of Missouri. Um, Yates had him. Let me find him real quick.
I think he goes to the Texans in this mock at
You are
20,
correct
yeah,
at
25.
2025. Yeah, you are correct. He's got Luther Burden at 25. Here's an interesting one. At 21, he's got the Steelers going Jackson Dart, the quarterback out
Ooh,
of Ole Miss. I have heard coming out of the Senior Bowl, I have heard a lot of buzz for Jackson Dart going in the first round. Prior to the Senior Bowl, he was thought of like as a day 2, maybe a high day 3 pick. But now, I mean, look, we talked about it, right? Like people need quarterbacks. There's only 2 really, and I don't even know if Shadur is a for sure first round grade. I think it's just more of a need. It's more of a
right.
supply and demand type thing.
The Shadur to the Raiders seems to be the sexy pick right now.
Yeah, that's the one I keep seeing. I actually saw, I forget who it was. Someone mocked, I think it was Cynthia Freeland at NFL Network. She had Shador falling to the Saints and the Saints picking him, which I, I don't hate it. I mean, I don't hate it, but like, again, what are you doing with Derek Carr? Like, if Carr's gone, I do feel like Kellen Moore's going to find a quarterback in this class that he will like enough to maybe say, yeah, let's try Jackson Dart, or let's try Kyle McCord from Syracuse, or let's try Will Howard from Ohio State.
Does
So,
Boise State have a quarterback coming out this year?
no, but they got a running back. You may have heard
Mm.
of him, Ashton
Yeah,
Genty. Where
Yates
does I
has him going
feel?
to number 20 to the Broncos.
See, now that's a fit I like. I like that fit. I mean, I think, I mean, Peyton, when the Saints were good and the Peyton during the high time with Sean Payton, we always had 2 good running backs. You had Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. You had Deuce McAllister and Reggie Bush, Pierre
He could
Thomason.
he would
You know,
also still be a Bronco.
right? You would. Yeah.
So they just keep the same gear.
There you go. And obviously, would help out with Bo Nix. Another landing spot I've seen for Genty that intrigues me would be Chicago. Um,
Mm.
if Chicago can fix their offensive line in free agency and draft Genty in the top 10, like you got Caleb Williams, Ashton Genty, Roma Dunze, uh, you're looking that offense looks pretty good. Uh, you know, let's see any other notable picks you want to
Well, we
discuss?
didn't. We haven't. Did we talk about your boys taking Tetaroa McMillan?
Yeah, I mean, look, I feel like they are gonna probably target a receiver. Olave's obviously coming off his
Olave's
concussion
been the
issues.
victim of targeting himself.
Yeah, I will say his brother Josh, who is very vocal on Twitter.
Oh, he's one of those.
Yeah, he's one of those. He went to Twitter today and looked like he was in approval of the Kellen Moore hire, for what that's worth. So, Rashid Shaheed was interviewed during Super Bowl week by Nick Underhill, and Shaheed seemed pretty excited about that possibility. So, he's coming off a knee injury too. Obviously, Valdez Scantling is a free agent. I'd like to see him bring MVS back. Honestly, I mean, he played pretty well for him.
Got a
But
bunch of touchdowns.
yeah, but all that to say, the Saints need a possession receiver. They need someone a bigger body who can make the tough catches, whether that's a receiver or whether that's a tight end. I've seen Tyler Warren, the tight end from Penn State, mocked to the Saints as well. I wouldn't love.
I hear Debo Samuel's on the trade market.
Yeah, he can go to Dallas. Yeah, y'all can have him. I would say if the Saints are going to target Tyler Warren, kind of like with you with Will Johnson with the Cowboys, I would prefer the Saints trade back in that scenario, get some more draft capital. Look, I've been saying for a couple of years, I just want the Saints to trade back. I feel like draft capital is, what they need at this point. The thing I'll say, the key, obviously, this goes without saying, but the key for this turnaround for the Saints is going to be they got to draft well. I mean, they got to you got to hit on some of these picks, especially your first round picks. Like,
Got to stop trading up for picks.
well, yeah, don't trade. Yeah, please, God, don't trade up for. Oh, speaking of which, one of the looniest of loony trades I saw was, I think it was Underdog did a mock draft. They had the Saints trading Derek Carr, the ninth pick, the 40th pick this year, and their first round pick next year to the Titans for the number one pick, so they could pick Cam Ward.
That certainly would be a choice.
I'm good. Look, no disrespect to Cam Ward, but yeah, I'm good. I don't really want that.
That's definitely not the guy I'm trading the King's ransom to go up and get.
Right. I'd rather stay at 9 and draft. I'd draft Genty if I were the Saints. I think Genty and Kamara in the same backfield would be interesting. If nothing else, I mean, I'm really interested to see how Kellen Moore builds this team. I think he's going to do it in the trenches. I would hope. He's going to. That's how you usually build a good team. Is in the trenches first, but we'll see. Let me just kind of scroll through here, see if there's any other. The Falcons at 15 going with Mike Green, the edge rusher out of Marshall. Yeah, he's been one that I forget who it was said he's a Saints type of defensive end, which is not a good thing.
I was going to say that doesn't encourage me.
By the way, Marcus Davenport was a Saints type of defensive end.
Yeah.
So was Peyton Turner, Isaiah Foskey. You don't know who those people are?
I was going to say these names are not ringing a bell, and that's never a good sign.
Exactly. Let's see. We got any other? Colston Loveland. You know anything about Colston Loveland, the tight end from Michigan?
I do not.
So everybody, the consensus number one tight end is Tyler Warren from Penn State, but Loveland's not too far behind in terms of that position. Let's see here. The Eagles end up with another SEC linebacker. That seems about right. Zach Baldwin's going to get paid, man, after his season he had.
$1.6 million signing.
Yeah,
I heard they just couldn't find playing time for him in the New Orleans.
Just couldn't find any playing time for him. But Vic Fangio, who's one of the best defensive minds in NFL history, sees his tape on special teams and says, "Yep, I can use him." They have the Chiefs drafting an offensive lineman. I would highly recommend that.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a moment.
We'll get to that in a moment. I do want to point out the Lions pick here. Gray Zabel is a guard / center out of North Dakota State. This is one of my guys. I really would love if the Saints could draft this guy. He's a very versatile offensive lineman. He's played basically every position. Went to the Senior Bowl and had probably the best week of anybody. Didn't lose a rep all week. And with a guy from North Dakota State, you want to see how he plays against, better competition.
Right.
And he definitely passed that test at the Senior Bowl. So he'd be somebody to keep an eye on. He would be someone that like Tampa Bay would draft, and it would really piss me off because Tampa Bay always ends up with like these really good offensive linemen, and that's how they end up winning the division every year. But another story for another day. Who do they have Tampa pick? He has Tampa picking James Pierce, an edge rusher from Tennessee. Yeah, that's probably who the Saints will end up picking. Honestly, another defensive lineman.
I like the name Gray Zabel. That's a great name.
It is a good name. Any other good names here that we got here? How about the Dolphins drafting a guard at 13? I don't know if that'll be I mean, they need offensive line help, but
yeah, I think they kind of need that.
All right. Anything else in the in this draft you want to?
No, I think now that we've covered the mock draft, I'm starting.
Real quick. Sorry, just before we go, because this will probably be the only time I do this before the actual draft. Let me just real quick run through the order. Now that we have the full 32 teams,
all 32 teams.
Yeah. So the draft order as of right now. Nobody's traded a first round pick yet. Saints still have a chance.
They're itching.
So first overall is so 1 through 5, we have the Titans, the Browns, the Giants, the Patriots, the Jaguars. 6 through 10, Raiders, Jets, Panthers, Saints, Bears. 11 through 15, 49ers, Cowboys, Dolphins, Colts, Falcons. 16 through 20, Cardinals, Bengals, Seahawks, Buccaneers, Broncos. 21 through 25, Steelers, Chargers, Packers, Vikings, and Texans. 26 through 30, Rams, Ravens, Lions, Commanders, and Bills. And after the result of the Super Bowl, 31 is the Chiefs, 32 is the Super Bowl champs, much to my colleagues' chagrin, the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll talk more about that later.
Well,
I'm sorry. Yep. Thanks, Frank. But yeah, you were saying earlier, Brandon, that you think you feel a draft.
I do feel a draft.
I feel a draft. Let's change tables.
Get out of here. We have a booth.
That's a lot of Frank in a couple of minutes.
Yep.
All right, so we're gonna do. I thought we'd do something a little different. So, I mean, we're going to do a draft. We're going to draft 4 teams. Now, we are drafting for next year's Super Bowl. So this is obviously way too early to be doing this, but what the hell? We need something. So here we go. But we're going to add a little twist. So, Brandon, you and I were talking about this before we went live.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to draft 4 teams, but we have 4 categories that we have to satisfy. So the 4 categories are as follows: playoff team. So we have to pick a team that made the playoffs this year.
Mm-hmm.
Top 10 team. So a team that will pick in the top 10 of the draft upcoming. A non-playoff team. So a team that did not make the playoffs in 2024. And a team from our division. So for me, that's the NFC South. For you, that's the
NFC
East.
East.
And I should point out, we can, if we choose to, pick our own teams. I don't know if we will, but that is an option. So now we don't have
If
to
we
go in
want to
any particular.
jinx ourselves.
Right. We don't have to go in any particular order. We're just going to pick a team. We'll put them in a category, and then we'll move on. Who went first last time? Did you go first, or I went first?
That's a good question. Let's see. Last week we drafted. Oh, I went first last time because I took Prince for the halftime show draft.
Okay, so I'm gonna. I'll defer. Do you want to go first, or do you want the turn?
If you're given the option, I'm gonna take it. I will receive.
You'll receive. All right.
Yes.
The floor is yours.
All right. So I think this is the most difficult category to pick. So I'm going to get this out of the way, have my pick of the 10 teams. So I'm going to take the Patriots as the top 10 team.
Okay.
Just because they've got the quarterback.
Right.
They've got a lot of cap space. They've got a competent head coach.
Yep.
I don't know if I feel as confident in the competency of the staff he's bringing on, because it seems like a lot of retreads there, but just the overall structure feels okay. And I'm just going to take the team that has a quarterback that I feel confident in, and take the Patriots.
Okay.
Speaking, and just to pause for a second, we didn't bring up the fact that their division mates, the Jets, will not be Mr. Rogers will not be returning to that neighborhood.
Yeah, so they brought in one AA run, and they're getting rid of another.
That's right. There's
Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn told Aaron Rodgers there's only room for one Aaron in this.
They met their quota.
Yeah, I'm not shocked. I'm actually
no.
Well, did you hear that they gave him they told him, apparently Diana Rossini reported that they sat down with Rodgers and said, "We'll have you back, but you got to come to all the training camp, and you can't go on Pat McAfee show."
That's one way to get him to quit.
And yeah, so
I think Play Now is trying to smoke me. I think they're putting something in my food.
That's great. Yeah, so the Jets will. I mean, look, Tyrod Taylor, I think, is under contract next year. So, yeah, as long as somebody doesn't,
certainly a better option right now than Rodgers was.
Well, at least as long as somebody doesn't like puncture his lung with a needle like the Chargers did.
Fair enough.
All right, so I get 2 picks now.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to start with. I agree with you. The top 10. That's kind of why I added the category, because it's like, well, let's make it interesting.
Let's make it difficult.
But I'm going to start with the playoff team.
Okay.
And I'm gonna go with the Baltimore Ravens. That one seems pretty easy.
That's a good one.
And then I will go top 10. I'm going to go the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, that would have been my second choice.
I really surprised when you said you were going to do that one first. I was like, well, he's going to pick the Bears. But shout out to Andy, the Bears fan.
I love the Drake.
Oh, by the way, I don't know when this was I guess it was last week or the week before, in one of my rants about the Saints and their incompetencies. I I uttered the phrase "he gone,"
Uh-huh.
and Andy reached out and said, "Oh, that's Hawks Harrelson, the White Sox announcer for many years." That was his phrase, which I didn't realize. I mean, I guess I did, but like I think I had
It
always heard it
snuck into your
from.
subconscious like a Ziggy cartoon.
Yeah, well, I think I heard my dad say it one time, and it just stuck.
Mm.
And so yeah, so shout out to Hawks Harrelson for the White Sox play-by-play announcer. All right, so I got Ravens and Bears. Oh my! And now the pick is to you, sir.
All right. So I'll just do the what I think is the oh man. There's a few playoff teams in here. I think I'll just take the
Yeah,
Chefs. I'll take the Chefs as the playoff
yeah,
team. Then
yeah, yeah. I guess I could have
yeah,
picked the. I guess I could have picked the defending Super Bowl champions, but
yeah,
we'll talk about that.
no
We'll talk
thanks.
about that more in a minute.
Do we must we? All right, and for the non-division or the non-playoff, um,
Yep.
I'm gonna take a team that has been to the Super Bowl, just barely missed the playoffs this year. I'm gonna take the Bungles.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think we mentioned it earlier. I think if they don't make the
Oh
playoffs
dang it,
this year, I think Zach Taylor's
he gone.
he gone. Yeah. I mean, especially if like I'm trying to think who the hot coaching candidate would be next year. Would it be McCarthy? Like if you're the Bengals,
The
but I
hot
mean like
coach.
if you're the Bengals and you miss the playoffs again, and McCarthy's out there available, I I don't know. I mean, is he much better than Zach Taylor? I don't know. Like,
I don't know about that.
yeah, I mean, to me, as long as you have Burrow as your quarterback, you're going to be good. You should be good, right? Like,
Right.
anyway,
Supposedly.
supposedly. All right, so you got Patriots, and then you got Chiefs and the Bengals. All right, so I get two more picks here, right?
Correct.
Okay, so I need a non-playoff team and I need divisional. So I'm going to do the divisional team first. I am not picking the Saints. Surprise, surprise.
They're just one
I
player
will.
away, Paul.
Yeah. We will. I will go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who
Okay.
will be on their third offensive coordinator in 3 years. I think. Yeah, because they had Canales. Or did they? Who did they have before that? Or maybe it's I don't know. But yeah, I'm going to go Tampa Bay. Um, I mean, again, as I mentioned, they're kind of the class of the NFC South, which is not saying much, but um, they draft well. Baker, I mean, again, I know he's going to be a different offensive coordinator, but he's played pretty well the last couple of years. I don't think there's any denying that. And then for what am I missing?
You are
Non-playoff.
non-playoff.
Let's see.
I think there's one here that I kind of wish I had taken instead, but
Was it the? Yeah, I'm just going to take them. The 49ers.
yep, that was it.
Yeah, I'm going to take them. Yeah, actually, I was surprised you didn't take them, but I'll take
Yeah,
them.
that was one I saw that after, and I was like, oh yeah, that would have been
This
smart.
this feels like, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, but like, I mean, I know they've got some questions. Obviously, the whole Debo thing we mentioned, they're gonna have to pay Brock Purdy.
McCaffrey had injury problems this year.
McCaffrey, their offensive line, I think, was banged up a little bit.
Yep. Yeah,
Defensively, they were.
their offensive line is starting to kind of age out of
Yeah,
effectiveness now.
yeah. Trent Williams like held out and then missed time. So look, I like we said, this will be an interesting year, and also the NFC West is better, I think, than we thought it would be. Like Seattle played much better. We'll see what happens in Arizona, and then and with the Rams too. I mean, if the Rams trade Stafford, that to me is the big domino to fall.
Right.
If the Rams trade Stafford in the offseason, then it's like, okay, well, what's going to happen? All right, and your final pick, sir?
I'll just take the Eagles. Plus 650.
Yeah, so who's got the longest odds here of the teams we picked? Patriots?
That was my Patriots pick at plus 10,000.
So 100 to 1?
Yep.
So you bet $1, you win 100 if they
That's
they
right.
win?
That's the way to go, baby.
Hey, man. Yeah, and look, we'll I was thinking we'll obviously keep this list for when we start to preview. Maybe our first episode that we preview next season, maybe we'll revisit this and give ourselves a mulligan if we want it, or
See how the odds have changed too, at least.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, because I mean, listen, if the Patriots end up with Cooper Kupp and T. Higgins, then you'd think
It looks a
maybe
lot different.
Yeah.
Who was their leading pass catcher this year?
Oh, it had to be Douglas, Pop Douglas.
Yeah, Pop.
Had to be Pop Douglas.
What if that's your leading receiver? You're in a bad situation.
Let me ask you this. Do you think the Patriots would consider drafting Ashton Genty?
I don't think so.
No?
No, it just the offensive line was so bad.
I agree. But hear me out. When Mike Vrabel was his most successful in Tennessee, he had a running back named Derrick Henry. I'm not saying Ashton Genty is Derrick Henry.
Yeah, that's the problem is.
But
also look at when was Derrick Henry drafted?
That's true. What the other thing I'll say, and we've talked about this, the running back class this year is very deep. It's very, very deep.
You don't need to burn that pick there.
But I will say, if let's say they get to 4 and Travis Hunter's already been picked and one of the quarterbacks is available and you've got, say, the Raiders or somebody wants to trade up with you, if I'm the Patriots, I'd probably trade back, get some more capital, and then maybe you consider Genty. I don't know. I heard somebody mention Genty to the Patriots, and I was like, that wouldn't be a bad idea. But yeah, at 4, maybe not.
Little rich.
So
we were both wrong. We were both wrong, by the way, about the Patriots' leading receiver was not Demario Douglas.
Yeah, it wasn't Demario Davis either. I can tell you that.
It was not. It was Hunter Henry, the tight end.
Oh, okay. That was my next guess. That'd have been my next guess. So just to recap real quick. So I went for my playoff team, I went with the Ravens. For my top 10 pick team, I went with the Bears. Divisional team, I went with the Bucks. And non-playoff team, I went with the 49ers. You want to recap
I took the Patriots as my top 10 team, the Chiefs as my playoff team, the Bengals as a non-playoff team, and the Eagles as my divisional team.
All right. So we will we'll see what's doing when we reconvene here or when we start to talk about next season. But all right, let's move on to our recap of Super Bowl 59.
Yeah, the game was canceled, Paul. It's a shame that they didn't play it. All right, that does it for this week's show. Talk to y'all next week.
Yeah, you wish, sir. You wish that that were the case. From the Superdome in New Orleans, it was Eagles 40, Chiefs 22.
Correct. It was not that close.
It was not that close, and it was presented by none other than Carson Wentz, who was in attendance on the Chiefs sideline. Some people were wanting him to go in the game at one point.
Well,
So
he
I don't.
certainly couldn't have done much worse.
Yeah. Did any of your prop bets hit by any chance?
Some of them did. So the most frustrating thing was those garbage time touchdowns actually hurt my um the prop bets that I had that were like the first half highest scoring half, um
Hmm.
second quarter
Oh,
highest scoring
yeah,
quarter.
yeah, yeah,
Like I
yeah, yeah.
had some of those props. I guess I'm trying to pull up everything. Let's see.
So, so
I
mine,
did hit a couple.
yeah, none of mine hit. I think I did have. I was proud that I had one of my props was Dotson over zero point 0.5 receptions, and then he almost had the first touchdown of the game.
Right.
Uh,
so
I did see a. Go ahead.
I had either team to convert a 2-point conversion. That was
Hmm.
one. Mahomes under 30 and a half rushing yards. That hit.
Okay.
Uh, let's see. Over 5.5 sacks combined. The Eagles got that by themselves.
Yep.
Hurts over 224 and a half passing yards. And I think that was it.
Um, I had Hertz over a point over 0.5 receiving rushing touchdown that hit early.
Yep.
I had Samaje P Ryan over zero point 0.5 receptions. I don't think he had any catches.
He did not because I also had that over.
He also didn't have any handshakes from Patrick Mahomes. I don't know if you saw that video.
I did not see that video.
There was a video that was going around at the end of the game. Mahomes is like dapping up everybody, and he goes. I forget who he's going down the line, and P Ryan just happens to be standing next to Kelsey. So Mahomes skips
Uh-huh.
over P Ryan and dabs up Kelsey, and like doesn't go back
And then
and dap up Samaje. So
so P Ryan was a peon in this situation.
yeah, it's tough look. Yeah, this game was well. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. And again, I'm not saying this to like take a victory lap, but like I believe last week I said this game's going to go one of two ways. It's either going to be a close game and the Chiefs find a way to win, or the Eagles are going to jump out early and blow
It
them
took
out.
him a little while to jump out, but
Yeah, it
once
did.
that
It did.
it was that intercept the pick six for a touchdown felt like that was like the tide was turning because the tide had
Yeah,
basically turned because it was kind of just an ugly football game and the Chiefs did a good they pretty much sold out it seemed like to stop Barkley
which is what
which they
we
did.
said. Which is what
Mhm.
we said, right? We said they were going to make Hertz beat them, and
Mhm.
for what it's worth, Hertz made the throws he had to make. Like,
And that's what happens when you have two guys who can easily beat man coverage who are better than your cornerbacks. You got a Heisman
yep,
winner in Devontae Smith, and you've got AJ Brown, who's one of the best contested catch guys in the league. And then you've also got the best offensive
Goddard.
line in the league. You've
Well, I
got
was going to say you got
Dallas Goddard.
who gets open at least once a game, like just wide open.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
and by
and
the way,
then
how AJ Brown was it for him to be like yelling at Sirianni, and then the next drive he
scores a
scores a touchdown?
touchdown. I was waiting for him to pull out a copy of Atlas Shrugged.
Well, he had his book. They showed him on the sideline. He had his whatever the book is.
Inner Excellence or something like that.
Yeah, sure. They had the author on. I think NFL Network had him on their pregame show before the game. Uh, but what a
I
season,
will say,
man! What a
yeah.
what a
Well. I mean, the the thing was, and this was I talked about. I mentioned this to you, but this was the same thing that sort of happened to KC in their last Super Bowl that they lost against Tampa
yeah,
Bay. Was the so Philadelphia blitzed 0 times, and they
yep.
got 6 sacks because their 4 defensive linemen were able to just squeeze the pocket. And so when Mahomes tried to step up, the tackles are still able to force, were applying pressure in the middle of the offensive line. They were able to just sit back and like play quarters coverage. Like they did some stuff. I saw one really good play on one of the sacks where they were they had a safety. I think the Eagle or the Chiefs motioned the back out into the out wide, and so the Eagles had a safety out there on him. And then when the back motion back into the backfield, they rotate back into cover two. But instead of playing cover two, they basically spun that safety down as kind of a robber in the middle of the field, and they were able to double team Kelsey that way. So Mahomes has to hold it for another instant. I was listening to an offensive line podcast, and they were kind of going through there, and the thing that they were kind of like pointing out was like early on, let's watch and see is Spagnuolo going to like sort of play a 5-down lineman and force or get 5 guys on the line of scrimmage and force it to be 1-on-1 and sort of force the issue that way, but he didn't really do it that way. I saw a few times when Justin Reed was kind of rotating down early to kind of the edge to kind of seal that, so they would get a little bit of an overhang defender there. But they really weren't able to generate a lot of pressure. The one big one was they had 2 big ones. One was the sack that got called back for neutral zone infraction, and the other one was the one time they got home. Hurts threw that interception.
Right.
Because if you I went back and watched it, and so like on the defensive left side, they're running a tackle in stunt. The Eagles pick it up, but then on the other side of the defensive right side, the Eagles slide the protection that way, but they drop the defensive end into coverage, and so 3 guys end up blocking 1 person. Bolton kind of slow rushes it, and then is able to hit that gap because the center is off looking the other way, and that's why Hurts has to speed up, throws a bad ball that's really underthrown and is picked off. But like they weren't able to get to that consistently, and I think that's just like the fact that the offensive line is so well coached, and like they're able to they know how to kind of where the pressure's coming from. They can get into those checks. They kind of identify and pass things off, especially like when they start trying to bring extra guys.
Yeah. And by the way, Bolton for the Chiefs, hell of a player, man. He's
great. Yeah.
He's a free agent. He's a free agent this offseason. Somebody's going to pay him some good money, I would imagine.
I'm sure.
Because he had a good game. Was it last year in the Super Bowl? I think he had like a strip sack. Maybe.
Yeah, and he was good in the game against Buffalo too.
Right.
He's sort of like the Spagnuolo likes to move him around a lot, like get him near the line of scrimmage and sort of use him as an extra pass rusher, but then also as like a guy in coverage. So he kind of a like jack of all trades sort of guy that you can use all around the field.
He is what the Saints were hoping Willie Gay would be, I think. But Willie Gay did not turn out to be that for as you know, as we saw this year. But I came away impressed with his play. I mean, to your point, the Chiefs defense did what we thought they would do, which is they were not going to let Saquon beat them,
and they didn't. They did the one that they did. Like nobody else had been able to figure out how to do that this year, and he did.
Right.
So.
But, and if you look at it, I mean, 14 of the points the Eagles scored, one was the pick 6 by Cooper DeJean, which, by the way, Brandon, what were you doing on your 22nd birthday?
Not intercepting passes in the Super Bowl, I'll tell you that much.
And returning them for touchdowns, yeah. The day after my 22nd birthday, my alma mater won a NCAA tournament game, but that's another story for another time. But Cooper DeJean on his 22nd birthday was pick 6, returning an interception for a touchdown. But the Eagles. So that's 7 points there, or 6 points with the extra point. And then Mahomes throws that interception to Zach Bond deep in their own territory that leads to an easy A.J. Brown touchdown. That's
Mhm.
14 points. You take away those 14 points, all of a sudden it's 26-22. Like,
Right.
so,
And
I
that's
mean, I know,
that also changes the flow of the game. Like you're not
right.
Kansas City is able to do a little more and be a little bit more
Because
patient.
here's the thing. You mentioned the pick six was kind of the turning point. When the pick six happened, my immediate thought went to Falcons Patriots 28-3. Because if you remember in that game, Brady threw a pick six right before halftime.
Mhm.
Patriots got the ball back, went down, and I believe they scored some points. So I'm thinking, okay, Mahomes is going to do that. They're going to get the ball back. He's going to maybe not get a touchdown, but get something and
I
go
was
into
praying for
halftime.
28-3 at that point.
Right, right. Well, and that's when he throws the interception to Bond, and then it ends up 24-0 at halftime.
Mm.
And that basically was it. Like at that point, now it's like, okay, you've got to score every possession if you're the Chiefs in the second
You
half.
got to at least be able to score out of the half, and they did nothing there. And
Right.
it felt like even aside from the pressure, which was obviously like the biggest issue, but like the Chiefs offense didn't look like the first play of the game. They motion a guy out in the backfield, and then you see Cooper DeJean, I think it was, like jump down that on that route, and then they throw the little quick like slant route to Smith Schuster right there, and you're like, okay, they've clearly got something here, but that sort of offensive inventiveness never really showed
Yeah.
itself again. It just seemed like, okay, here's our good play.
Yeah.
Andy Reid took 2 weeks to draw that one up, and that was it.
Yeah. Vic Fangio had those boys in jail all night. I
Yeah.
mean, it was.
Well, when you
But
can
shout
rush
out.
four and drop, when you can rush four and get
Yeah.
home, and you're able to drop seven, it makes things a lot easier.
That's how the Giants beat the Patriots in those Super Bowls
Yep.
years ago. Which, by the way, I find it. I thought about this over the weekend, apropos of nothing. Tom Brady's 3 Super Bowl defeats were 2 to Eli Manning and 1 to Nick Foles, which I just find hilarious. Like, it's like, and so I thought, well, what would the analogous be? Like, because I know,
For
okay, because
Mahomes,
well, you've made it clear your thoughts of Jalen Hurts.
mm-hmm.
Um, would you put Jalen Hurts beating Patrick Mahomes in a Super Bowl on par with Nick Foles beating Tom Brady in a Super Bowl, or Eli Manning beating Tom Brady in a Super Bowl? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah,
Like,
the Eli one feels a little closer because it was like defense in
right,
a team sort of thing.
right,
Maybe,
yeah.
yeah. I guess
I will
that's probably
say,
it.
it did feel like, and look, I didn't watch every Eagles game this year. It
Mm-hmm.
did feel like Hurts played one of his better games in the Super Bowl. I
This
mean,
this one and the last week were probably two of his best
right,
games. Like he did play well when they needed him to. Because like I'd seen some points during the year where he would just, I mean, it was a lot of the same, just one read, take off and scramble sort of thing, which
no,
he
I did,
still will do.
yeah. He did see that.
Um,
I did still see that. Yeah, he definitely had. Well, like the interception that he threw, that was that. It basically felt like he kind of eyeballed the receiver. The pressure came, and he just
I'm
panicked.
just gonna,
Basically, yeah,
I'm just gonna gun it here. Yeah, I will say, like, I think there's a, um, people will do stats of like quarterback's numbers with and without pressure, and his
yeah,
numbers with and without pressure are like completely like
yeah,
it craters when he gets pressure. He's not a guy if you can, and that's where playing with the best offensive line in football, or at least one of the best offensive lines in football, comes in, is like he doesn't have to face pressure, and so like you've mitigated that risk with him because he's if teams are able to pressure him, then he's not going to be able to, kind of punish you the way a lot of quarterbacks will.
yeah. No, I agree. Which again, it's part of the reason I part of the reason I'm a little bit more optimistic about the Kellen Moore hiring is that he was able to synthesize that. I understand you have to have, like, it helps to have Lane Johnson as your left tackle. It helps to have
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Malalate or
Mailata.
whatever,
Mailata.
Malata at right tackle. Cam Jurgens as your center, even though he's not Jason Kelsey, but he's pretty good. Although he does look like Ed Sheeran. When I used them on Immaculate Grid today,
Immaculate Grid.
and I was like, this guy looks like Ed Sheeran, like a bigger Ed Sheeran. But sorry, that
It looks like he ate. It looks like Ed Sheeran ate somebody.
right. Yeah, look, I mean, the game for not much to speak of. Kudos to Kenny Pickett for getting some Super Bowl snaps. For what that's worth.
Kenny Pickett now Immaculate Grid Super Bowl champion.
Yeah. Also Ian Book.
Oh,
Ian Book
threw the book at him.
Yeah, shout out to former Saints Zach Baun, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. They got some rings, so good for them. And also shout out to Jalen Carter, who is a Philadelphia Eagle, thanks to the New Orleans Saints. Basically,
good work, good work, Paul. Your team has let me down again.
Yep. So I kind of thought, when it was coming down to the end, I was like, who are they going to give MVP to? I was like, well, maybe my cousin has a shot. I mean, he made 4 field goals?
Who was the defensive end that was crashing every play?
Oh,
was it Josh Sweat?
Yeah, Josh.
I thought Josh Sweat had a reasonable argument for that one. I thought
he had I think 2.5 sacks.
Yeah, I would say, and he was pressure. I want to see his pressure numbers too, because he probably had about 20 of those.
Jake Elliott had 1, 2. He had three field goals. But 2 of his field goals were 48 and 50 yards. So, yeah. Or no, he had 4. I'm sorry, he had 4 field goals, 2 48s, a 50, and a 29. So, yeah, justice for Elliott, man. Where's Jake Elliott's MVP?
We forgot to point out that this Super Bowl matchup was your cousin against my cousin.
That's true. Yeah, who's what Connor was it on the
Shamari Connor?
Shamari, yeah. So
who is I always use on it whenever it's Chiefs Super Bowl champion. Shamari Connor is my go-to guy.
Well, hey, now I can use Jake Elliott as my Eagles Super Bowl champion.
There's a feather in your cap.
There's a feather in my cap. What did Hurts' final numbers? 17 of 22, 221. He also ran for 72 yards. Hurts is actually the leading rusher for the Eagles.
For the game?
Well, yeah, for the game too, but also for the Eagles. Yeah, Mahomes. Yeah, that's the other thing. The Chiefs just could not get the running game going at all, and they weren't even trying. That was kind of weird, but yeah. I mean, look, I won't be surprised. I'm not going to be surprised if the Chiefs are back next year. I mean, I don't. The tales of their demise are greatly exaggerated, I would say. Even if Kelsey retires, even if they lose.
I'm sure they'll revamp the offense, try to add some talent on the offensive line. You've still got Rashee Rice coming back from injury. That was one. That's one guy that they were missing most of the year. Xavier Worthy will have another year under his belt.
That's true. And Worthy, look, the NFL, I mentioned this to you before we turned the mics on. That one garbage touchdown that Mahomes had, that 55-yard bomb to Worthy,
right?
That was a thing of beauty. That was still a thing of beauty. I don't care if they're down 3 scores or whatever. That's still going to be a problem for folks next year.
Right.
Worthy just
especially when you've got Rashee Rice on the other side taking people's attention away from it.
Right. Any thoughts on the halftime show?
I thought it was fine. Like, I like Kendrick's music, but it wasn't like he wasn't playing stadium bangers necessarily.
Um,
What were your thoughts, Paul? I
I,
was glad
I mean,
he did not like us and TV off, which are two songs that I know. Um,
well, I knew of Not Like Us, and like I kind of I pulled up his music on Apple like during the week just to kind of get a sense of just so I kind of knew his songs.
uh-huh.
Um, I did like the inclusion of Samuel L. Jackson. Uh,
Yeah. Uncle
I
Sam.
thought that was good. Yeah, I mean, look, obviously everybody's talking about him doing Not Like Us and like doing that lyric about Drake in a
Mhm.
stadium and getting people in the stadium to say that lyric. Like, um, that's that's something to there's a feather in his cap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a halftime show. I mean, I thought it was good.
I
The
will say if we were
commercials,
if we were if we were drafting halftime shows this week, I probably wouldn't have taken that one.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No offense.
No offense to
Please
Mr.
don't,
Lamar. Please
yeah,
don't diss
please
us.
don't,
We're not
please don't
we're
write
not
yeah, please
pedophiles.
don't write a diss track about us, please.
We are not pedophiles. Let me say up front. Let me lead with
Yeah,
that.
let's not bury the lead here. So let's move on to the commercials. You texted me Monday and you were like, "Were any of the commercials good?" I will tell you, Brandon, I have not laughed like I laughed at the Seal commercial. I have not laughed like that in a long time because it was one of the early commercials. I was like kind of half paying attention and I looked up and I was like, okay, what is this commercial? And then I heard the Kiss from a Rose song start. And then the next
Uh-huh.
thing I see is Seal as a seal. And I just lost it. I was like, okay, this is hilarious.
What was that
Um,
commercial for? Because I remember watching it. I remember seeing it and
I
I was like, I looked at my wife and I was like, seal
I
is a seal. And
believe
she's like, I get the joke.
I believe it was for
I am
Mountain
aware.
Dew. I I believe it was for
Oh, that's
Mountain
right. It
Dew.
was Baja
Uh,
Blast.
right. Well, that was the other part of it was that it was "Kiss from a Rose," but he updated the lyrics to, you know, I forget what the lyrics actually were, but I was just like the last time I remember laughing that hard at something live on TV was the episode of the episode of The Office that was Jim and Pam's wedding.
Uh-huh.
Um, when they're dancing down the aisle and Dwight turns
Dwight,
around and kicks that girl in the
lady in the
face. That was that was another one where I remember watching that as it happened, and we had TiVo at the time, and
uh-huh.
I was just wearing that rewind button out, man. I watched that thing like 10 times because it was just so hilarious, like the way it happened. So,
Have I ever told you what my comp? So I'm not a big fan of Baja Blast. I have a very specific flavor comp that I use for this. I
okay,
always tell people it tastes like carbonated mouthwash.
okay.
So
I don't
that's what
know
I
if
think of.
I don't know if I've ever had it, so I don't know if I could.
I would advise against it.
Yeah, I don't know if I could verify that, but yeah.
If you got one of those soda streams, just get some Listerine, and
Okay.
then you're good. Throw some carbonation in
Well,
there.
why are you putting Listerine in your soda stream? Don't worry about it. Don't worry
I'm
about
making Baja Blast. Um,
it.
I think that so I remember that one. The Martha Stewart Skechers AI generated thing was very off putting.
I don't think I
That made
saw
me
that one.
oh that one made me feel uncomfortable. Um,
Well,
the the Nike women's sports commercial. I know everyone was a big fan of that. I thought it was fine. And then my
This
personal, like
was the
Caitlin
was
Clark.
yeah. Okay, yeah. That one, yeah.
Yeah. The My personal favorite was the breast cancer screening commercial. Did you see this one? Did you get a good look,
I did.
Stan? Did you get a
I
good look?
did. I did. Oh, by the way, we should mention there was a picture floating around over the weekend of Josh Allen at the NFL honors.
Oh,
He was there with
Miss
his lovely
Steinfeld.
his lovely fiancee
Fiance.
Haley Steinfeld, and Haley Steinfeld is speaking to someone, and Josh Allen's getting a peek. And I proposed the question to you that he should have cleavage. What was the term I
Immunity.
used?
Immunity.
Cleavage immunity, because that's his
Yeah,
girlfriend. That's his
when
fiance.
you're getting
Like,
married to her, yeah, what's the difference?
so,
Get a good look, Alan.
I like
Yeah,
I like the
so
Michelob.
with that,
Okay, go ahead. The
one
breast
thing
cancer one.
that commercial
Yeah.
came on, and I was watching, and I look at my wife, and I was like, "What's going on here?" And she was like, "I don't know what's going."
That's the. Was that the Pfizer? Was that no? That wasn't Pfizer. No, this
No,
was.
it was a breast cancer screening thing.
Yeah, but oh, your attention, please. That's what it was.
Mm.
That's what it was.
My,
Yeah.
I will tell you. So my wife and I have spring break in my senior year. We went to New Orleans together, and so
Okay.
we're in the hotel. We're on the elevator going down to like go out. It's like, it's like just like middle of the day. We're just gonna go grab lunch or something. And this couple gets on the elevator, and this woman is wearing a very low cut shirt, and
Uh-huh.
she they were not real, but
She had them.
but they
She
were
had them things out.
She had them things out,
She had them
and I
things out.
turned. Yeah, and so she wasn't my wife at the time, obviously, because we're still in college. And so I turn and look at her because like the lady walks by, and her eyes are the size of dinner plates, and I can tell
Your
she's
wife?
trying not to. Yes, my wife's eyes are like the
Okay,
size of
okay.
dinner plates, and I can tell she's trying not to bust out laughing, and so I have to try not to bust out laughing, and so I just turned and stared at the wall. And as soon as they got off, the elevator, I was like, did you see that? And she was like, oh, I saw it.
Oh, I am aware. I am aware.
I am.
I did. I found it awkward. I felt kind of bad. Did you see the Ritz commercial with Aubrey Plaza and Michael Shannon? The salty.
Yes.
The salty. Okay. So do you know why I found that awkward? Do you know what I'm getting at? So Aubrey Plaza's husband committed suicide like a month ago.
Oh,
like
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was, and she ended up having to. First of all, best wishes to her. Obviously,
is she from Parks and Rec? Am I thinking of the right person?
Yes, she's April Ludgate.
Yeah.
I think it was her. Yeah. So her husband committed suicide. I want to say it was right after the first of the year, and she ended up deleting her social media basically because people are idiots, and basically
Right,
we're like,
I'm sure.
we're writing to her. Let's just say in a non-flattering way, like
blaming her, kind of.
No. Kind of the opposite. Like, well, in a flattering way, but like
awaiting out the marriage situation.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. So I just found it awkward that and look, I don't know when she filmed this commercial or anything like that. And
right.
Again, best wishes to her. Like but it just, I found it like when the commercial started, I was like, oh, like, you know what I mean? Like it just felt awkward.
Ritz couldn't have pulled this from the shelf.
Well, that's again, I don't know when it was recorded. Like maybe they filmed it last week. I don't know.
Right.
There were two commercials that dealt with facial hair. There was the Pringles
The
Call of the
Pringles mustache.
Mustaches.
I like the Pringles mustache one. That one was
Yeah, and then there was the Little Caesars one with like Eugene Levy's eyebrows. Did you see this?
less a fan of that one.
Yeah, I was like, wait. Well, I was just more like, wait a minute. Didn't they just do this? Didn't Little Caesars
Yeah.
just do this?
Hey, you stole our idea.
I'm looking through. I'm just
So one
looking
of them
through
was
here.
called the beach, and one of them was called the ocean.
Yeah. Okay, the WeatherTech commercial with the old ladies. Did you see this one?
This one I missed. I heard mention of this one. I needed to go back there because there were a bunch of them I missed because like stuff was going on, and
So all I remember is like the commercial started, and I was like, "What is this a commercial for?" Like it was one of those. It was like
yeah,
because these were like older ladies doing crazy things, and then all of a sudden it's like, "Oh, look, my floor mats are WeatherTech or whatever." I'm like, what?
what? One of my
You just
one of
killed
my favorite.
You just killed a man. Like, what do you do?
My favorite, like, what is this a commercial for? Commercials was back in like I want to say early 2000s, but it was like these two guys or old guys are sitting in their garage and they got like the monkey that plays the cymbals just sitting there, and it just goes on for 30 seconds, and you're like, what's going on? And then it says, we just wasted $8 million. What are you doing with your money? And it was like for Ameritrade or something. I was like, oh, that was actually good. Like, it was like, hey, so that's one of the ones that like has stuck with me for a long time.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that one. There was the Glenn Powell commercial for Dodge Ram. It was Goldilocks and the Three Trucks. Yeah,
yeah, that was
there
fun.
There was the Sloth commercial, Case of the Mondays, for Coors Light.
There's a Bud Light one with a
horse with a Clydesdale.
The Clydesdale one was there was that, but there was also, wasn't there a Bud Light one with Peyton Manning and Post Malone and
Shane Gillis? Was it Shane Gillis?
Yeah, Shane Gillis.
Yeah. I think I saw that one. Matthew McConaughey. Matthew McConaughey had the Uber Eats one.
Yeah, which I saw before. I saw that one before it like made it to the. I saw that on Instagram.
Yeah, a lot of these commercials get leaked before the game, so that doesn't.
Did you ever see? You know how Doritos would have the competition to like do your own Doritos commercial? There was one, and I think it got banned from. I think it was called the finger cleaner. And
God. I think I do remember this one. Yeah.
So the guy was eating. There was like this guy's eating Doritos, and he's like, I got Doritos dust all over my fingers. He's like, use the finger cleaner. And so he like puts his finger in this hole, and it comes out clean. And he's like, where does it go? And he's like, don't ask that question. And then it shows this office, and the guy's got a hole in the wall, and this finger comes through, and he like opens his mouth, and you're like, oh my gosh. That was one of the best. That's one of the best commercials, and I can't remember if it actually made the Super Bowl or if they like banned it and like kept it off the air just because it was a little bit risque, shall we say?
Right. Speaking of risque, did you see the Harry Met Sally Hellman's mayonnaise?
Oh, that was
commercial?
I did think that was a good one. I like that one.
Pretty good. The Sydney Sweeney at the end. I'll have what she's having.
Yes.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah, I mean those were the one. I will say the only movie trailer that I was really interested in was Thunderbolts, the new Marvel movie that's coming out, starring. Did you see who was in this?
No, I did see I saw the commercial, but I don't remember who it was in it. But I did think, I was like, oh, I bet Paul's going to see that.
But starring Miss our favorite Elaine Bennis.
Oh,
She is now a part of the
she's now
Marvel
part of the
Cinematic
Marvel
Universe.
Cinematic Universe.
She plays. I think she's kind of the antagonist in this one. She plays a senator, I believe, or some kind of governmental agent. Uh, but yeah, Julia Louis Dreyfus in the Marvel universe. Go figure. But any other commercials you want to mention?
No.
The Dunk. Okay, look, the Duncans one with Ben Affleck and Casey
See,
Affleck
this is
was
I missed.
yeah,
See, I missed that one. That's
that
one I need
was
to like go back and
yeah.
watch.
Nah, no, you don't. It was
No, no.
nice. Is well, I mean, yeah, it was okay. It's but it's the same. Like we're from Boston. It's a Duncan commercial. Like
Uh huh.
you kind of get the drift there. Um, don't put it on the top of your priority list. I would say.
Okay.
Some of these I don't remember. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I just didn't. Uh, yeah. Oh, there was one for Squarespace with Barry Keoghan. He's riding a donkey.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he's
Throwing
throwing
laptops out of the.
laptops. Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
that
I
one.
do
I thought
remember that.
that one was pretty good. Um, yeah, I think that's about it. I can't really think of anything else. So yeah, so Super Bowl on for the most part was uneventful. Hopefully next year it'll be in San Francisco. They released the logo. Did you see the logo for Super Bowl 60?
Is it the blue one? Is that the
Yeah.
official logo?
Yeah, so the conspiracy theories are out because of the logo colors of the logo usually match the colors of the teams that play in the Super Bowl. I
Got
think
some pink in here.
yeah, I think the teams I heard were like Bills, Packers, maybe as the
I don't recall any pink. Well,
there's yellow in there though. There's like a uh, Packer yellow kind of in there.
yeah, but that blue looks more like a. It looks more like a
A lot,
Honolulu blue to me. That looks more like a lion
maybe,
blue.
maybe we shall see. So maybe it'll be Lions Steelers, maybe.
Maybe.
But the game will be in. Is it Santa Clara? It's Santa Clara next year, I believe. Is where
Yeah, where they officially play their games.
I think. Yeah, I think it's at Santa Clara. I've actually driven past. So I was in San Francisco 2 years ago for work. I had never been, and it's quite lovely. I will say. Um, it's it's got its pros and cons.
It's charm.
It's got its charms. The homeless population was a bit surprising. Like that was because like
Any
it's a thing there. It's a thing
yeah.
there.
Did
Like
any of them have rickshaws?
no rickshaws. But I remember my coworker and I we went out to eat at Chipotle because of course you fly all the way to San Francisco just to have Chipotle.
The local
But
cuisine.
the local cuisine. And we're sitting in I'll never forget. We're sitting in Chipotle, just eating, and this homeless guy comes in. He doesn't bother anybody, but he just starts digging through the trash, like in the restaurant. Nobody bothers him. He didn't bother anybody. Just like, oh, okay. I guess this is
That's how it is.
how it is. But apropos of nothing. So anything else about the Super Bowl you want to talk about?
No, I think I've said my
I think you're
piece.
done.
I think I've had
think you said
I've had enough of this conversation.
I just to end this on a little bit of a happier note, I will say it was nice to see New Orleans get all the love this week. For a lot of people are enjoy it as a host city. It had been 12 years since the Super Bowl had been in New Orleans, so hopefully it won't be that long again. before the next
It
one.
helps that they kept the lights on this time. I think
They
that's
did
a
keep
big
the lights
selling
on.
point.
They did keep the lights on. Yes. They also was a big economic boost for the city. So we'll see. Hopefully, some good vibes. Um, going into next season for the team also. Um, so for us going forward here, just to kind of set the stage here, we will be just keep doing episodes. I know Brandon, you're going to be out of the country here in a couple weeks.
Yep.
But I'm working on something. Hopefully that'll will help us get through. We do have the combine coming up in a couple weeks, so we'll probably do a little preview of that. Of course, we'll talk about any other news and notes that come up NFL related between now and then. The schedule will be released probably late April. Well, the draft's late April, and then the schedule usually gets released after, before that or after that.
I want to say
Somewhere,
it's before.
somewhere.
It's after.
Yeah, you might be right. I thought it was maybe before, um, but whenever it does, we'll obviously talk about it, and then we'll go into next season. We'll have some episodes here and there to talk about other things. We've got hopefully got a very special episode next week.
Yeah,
I don't want to.
that's one to look forward to.
Yeah, I don't want to give anything away. Hopefully things will come to fruition. But
Yep.
look for something special next.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. But until then, happy football, everybody.
Happy football.